Strong Enough merch is now available. Go to strongenoughpod.com and see all the things that you can get to show your strong enough pride, as well as remind people and yourself that you are strong enough and you are worth it. Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people just like you. I'm your host, Claudia. Today's guest is going to talk about her struggles with body image and eating disorders. She's going to share how she was able to break the cycle and why she now helps other people understand the importance of mindfulness, self-care, and happiness. Please help me welcome Dr. Christiane Schroeter. Christiane, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you so much. I will say Claudia or Claudia.
You know, I will allow you to say it however you like because I get both of them. So I'm good with whatever you want to call me. Both sound beautiful coming out of your mouth. So I appreciate
Awesomeness. All right.
Well, I'm excited for our chat today. And we have spent a couple minutes together already. And you are just luminous. I think that's a great word to describe you. You just shine very brightly. You're very positive. I can tell already that this is going to be an amazing conversation. Why don't we get it started? Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Christiane, and I have a small business that's called Hello Happiness. I focus on health and happiness. So I'm a coach that helps you start your journey to wellness that hopefully brings out the best in yourself. I live in California, which is a beautiful place, and that definitely helps with my happiness as well. I've lived in other parts of the United States, among many of them Indiana, and also lived in Arkansas, actually. At Purdue University, I earned my Ph.D., and that was also part of the reason why I live in California now. I'm a full-time professor here at the university at Cal Poly. I teach innovation entrepreneurship and marketing, which I absolutely adore. And it's also a great synergy having a side business that focuses on health and wellness, because a lot of, especially, I would say entrepreneurs or people that have academic jobs kind of push their self-care to the side. And so my business really taught me and forces me to take care of myself because I want to do what I teach others. So I absolutely love it. I have 2 kids, and that's also another reason why I need to take care of myself. I want to be a good role model. And my husband is hustling around. And that also now brings me to the last thing I want to share. I have a podcast that's called Happy Healthy Hustle, because I frequently think of myself as exactly that, as a happy, healthy hustler. So thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited that you're here, and I want to know, what does self-care mean to you? Because it's been a big buzzword lately. Mindfulness and self-care have really been on the forefront. It means different things to different people. Tell me what it means to you.
I totally agree that the initial word self-care might sound like a little, what I tell my kids. I'm not sure it's a real word. I call it whoopie doobie, like whoopie doobie. It's like people think, oh, like make a bubble bath, like maybe stretch or something. It's actually whatever you think, and I use that term in the classroom a lot. Whatever you think rocks your boat, right? Whatever you feel is making you happy, that's your self-care. That could be a very relaxing activity like the bubble bath or the stretching I just talked about, or reading a book or painting or going for a walk. But it could be totally something different. It could be playing video games, maybe that kind of takes out the edge if you're really stressed during the day. Or maybe it is calling a friend, or going out for dinner with your friends. All of these things are included in my personal definition of self-care, because I think when it comes down to it, there isn't really a one size fits all. It's truly what I say is me time. What is it that you, as in Claudia time, would have in your self-care package might absolutely not be what I have. Even though we both just discovered we get our nails done. So maybe that was part of our self-care journey right there. Was that self-care? Yes, right?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I love your definition, and let me tell you why. Here's my nail for those who are watching that can see it. You should
hold
flash
on.
yours as well because yours look great too. So, here's why I love what you said though, in all seriousness, because from a lot of people you hear very specific things that they have deemed to be self-care. And one of them often is yoga. Oh, you got to do yoga, you got to stretch. Oh, it's great, it's amazing. Let me tell you, for me, that doing yoga is like one of the circles of hell. Like, I do not like it. I am not flexible. I don't like doing things that demonstrate how not flexible I am. I have tried it. I still don't like it. So I don't want people to tell me that that's going to make me feel better because it's not. So I really appreciate that to you, it's what is meaningful to each individual person. And I think that gives us a lot of freedom in feeling how we want to feel and determining within reason and within legal standards, what we do to make ourselves feel better. Do you find that most people agree with your definition, or they have these very like structured set list of activities that this is self-care and this is not, and so if you're not doing these things then you're not really taking care of yourself?
yeah, so I have a couple of things to add on to that definition, and it's actually also something that has bugged me a little bit in the past. So, for instance, if you think of February, right, many people think, oh, Valentine's Day, right? And I can't stand going out on Valentine's Day and eating dinner because I feel that that's such a cliche thing to do, to go out with your partner and do something that everybody else is doing. And it's the same thing with self care, right? It's like, oh, so self care has to do this and this. I don't like going out on Valentine's Day for dinner. I also don't like to get chocolates. And I also tell my husband, please, by all means, don't get me roses because they're going to be so ridiculously overpriced. Just get them any other day, okay? So I don't want that somebody tells me, oh, you do this because I think this is going to make you feel amazing on Valentine's Day. Um, I've been there, I've done that. I looked around and I thought so told my husband on Valentine's Day. He said, "It's kind of creepy. Look, it's only couples. It's unnatural." And it's the same thing when I sometimes do activities that other people think are very relaxing. I think that in that moment, I just don't relax because it's not who I am. So yes, there is definitely, especially using words like mindfulness or self-care, which I don't want to say are overused, but are used a lot. There is frequently somewhat a common understanding of what that includes. And I personally, I guess I'm a little bit more chill about it. I keep things more open. And I also like to say it's maybe not always mindfulness, it's maybe even a mind shift. So, whatever activity your self care package includes, that's the most important thing. Does it lead to a mind shift from being stressed to calm? Awesome. We'll go with that, right?
Why is it important that we focus on that mind shift and self-care for the people, who are people pleasers and just feel like, oh, no, I don't have time for me. I have to do for everybody else. Talk to those people and explain to them why it matters.
Mm. So matters on a couple of different levels. And of course now I could say, oh, I want to be a good mom and a good wife and a good professor in the classroom. And I'm like having all these different responsibilities. At the end of the day, it really comes down to you, right? How happy are you? So I just talked with somebody yesterday and she said, I can't remember the last time I really smiled. And that's bad in a certain way because I smile all the time. But have bad days too, of course. So it really, you need to enjoy every single moment. And while we all have kind of like crappy days, I call them, where you don't feel great and you wake up. Maybe you don't smile a ton on those days. In general, you should enjoy life. So the self-care is most important to you because you need to figure out um, every single step in your life should be something that's adding on to you and making your life richer. And if there is something that you feel shouldn't be there, or maybe, let's say, maybe there's a meeting you don't particularly enjoy, you could use that self-care activity and kind of balance things out. So think of it as like a scale with like these two sides of the scale. So maybe on that day you have to drive somewhere and you don't really like car rides. And you're like, oh, well. But then maybe when you get there, you could do a self-care activity that totally makes up for that atrocious car drive. Okay, let me give you an example. Driving through Los Angeles. All right. I don't think maybe there are people that love this and that's their self-care. For me, maybe not so much, right? So then you add a self-care activity at the end. So for me, that would be, I'm stopping somewhere and I'm looking at the beach and I'm grabbing a smoothie. Boom. It's kind of like, whoo, I'm feeling already the stress from the traffic is like washing off. If I wouldn't do that, I would probably be like super tense and, feeling like my neck is all like getting tight knots. And so the self-care offsets all the other junk that you might be dealing with in the day. And don't let that pile up because it's really uncomfortable.
That traffic is also really uncomfortable. I have experienced it more than once, and I like driving, but I don't like that traffic. So I appreciate the explanation that you gave there because I love the balancing act and even, sort of the trade-off of if you have to do A and that's not so fun, then throw in activity B, along the way or shortly thereafter to create that balance. What do you see when people start to make that shift and start to perform that self care and do those activities that are meaningful? What changes and what shift do you see in their lives?
Yeah, that's usually the motivation of why I became a health and happiness coach because you're waiting for the transformation to happen, and it's very fulfilling to see that because you're kind of like seeing like a spark go off, and it's like, oh, this is really how I should feel, and this is my best self is coming out right now. So what I really notice is that frequently people are surprised that self-care does not have to be expensive, complicated, or even time intensive. And it could be 5 minutes where you go for a walk, or maybe you read a book, or you sit at the beach, or you just, I don't know what, lay on the carpet. I don't know, whatever you want to do, right? And that already in itself um, could be totally resetting whatever funk your brain was in. And then people come to me and, for instance, they see me on the next day or even the next week, and they are seeming lighter. So think of the self-care as something that when we speak about that balance is it takes off the load that you're carrying around with you, and it makes you feel that you just kind of dump that crap somewhere and you're moving on and you don't have those thoughts on your mind anymore. I always think of my brain as like a little conveyor belt, and then like these maybe dark packages, and then the self-cares are like poof, like pushing them off the conveyor belt. And then like maybe there's some smaller packages, but the big ones are gone, and so it's just like moving on through experiences. They can't all be happy. That would be really creepy. But in general, you want to think about, all right, I have a lot going on today. I definitely need to schedule something that will make up for all the hustling, the stress that I'm dealing with so that I'm staying somewhat happy and sane.
When you started your podcast, did you consider that a version of self care for you, or is it something that you sometimes need the self care once you're done?
Oh, good question. Um, it is actually, it's very surprising how the podcast really worked out for me because at first I was very intimidated about doing it and I thought, oh gosh, I don't know, that seems, I already taught myself so many different things. When I created my online coaching program, I had to teach myself how to edit videos, and I wanted to make them really funny. So I put all these GIFs in there and this text and the little sparkles that fall down and effects. And I could have probably not done that, but I really wanted to. And so I was like, yay, but that was a lot of work. But yay, I know people love the effects and the little cats that make like little faces and stuff. In any case, when I started the podcast, I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to be another one of those things where I'm starting this and it's going to be this technological nightmare. And actually, it turned out very different because I like to have conversations one on one. I think that the podcast taught me that I'm really a one on one, a one on one person. And I like speaking to crowds. Obviously, I'm a professor too. Um, but it's really this back and forth because you know what? Now that I'm talking this out loud, I think that in a podcast, the host usually does a very good job in listening to the guest, and frequently in life, it doesn't happen. So frequently in life, people are just kind of half listening, and maybe they're looking at some kind of electronic device. And it's sometimes harder in real life to get the attention of somebody. In a podcast, it's not that way because people are really intently listening and making this very meaningful. And I really like this. It's a total form of self-care to me because I'm feeling that I discover so much about people and myself that that's something that's unique and very healing.
I love that, and you're completely right because we are, as a society, glued to our phones, and I am guilty of it. And this is the one time that I can sit my phone down
Mhm.
and not look at it and really truly focus on what another individual is talking about. So, yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Now, do you do the sparkles and the kitty cats for
Mm.
your podcast? Do you?
No sparkles and kitty cats. Here I do push the recordings out to YouTube, mainly because my host has a little button, and I thought, may as well. If it's there, right? I do it. I'm very much into freebies, and I already told you about that
Mhm.
earlier, Claudia. I did study economics after all and have a PhD, so deep down I am an economist, and I like to think that sometimes there's like fun little. I guess maybe deep down I'm still like a child at heart, and I like to. One of my favorite things are gift baskets. So if a technology offers something free, I'm like, oh my gosh, may as well. So right now you can listen to the podcast on YouTube, but there are no sparkles or kitties. Or there's also these cute dogs that I sometimes use. Particularly, like when I'm explaining something complicated, I try to weave in some animals. Tomorrow is National Dog Day, by the way, Claudia. I told you that Sunday is National Movie Theater Day. So tomorrow, National Dog Day, and I need to research what that exactly entails. Maybe you can walk a dog for free or something like that.
I presume it will also mean that I'm going to be posting pictures of my puppy online and looking at other people posting pictures of theirs.
Probably, yeah. What type of dog do you have?
I have a Pekingese.
Oh, how cute. Mm.
Yes, and he knows it. He
Well,
is
then post pictures.
adorable. He's 8 months old. Super cute. He's like 7 pounds,
Oh,
and he knows he's cute.
oh,
And he's
that's good.
right. He's
Yeah,
right.
that's
You teased a little bit about freebies and loving them and sharing those out. So, as a teaser for the audience, we are going to let you know how you can get a hold of these freebies that you share about. So, everybody's going to find that out at the end of the episode.
good. Good, good sprinkle.
Get right. I want to ask you about one of the other things that you focus on, which is body image and eating disorders. And I
Mhm,
know that, that hits a lot of people. And
mhm.
we've seen some changes in media showing different body types and shapes and sizes. Are we on the right track with that and with helping people to have better body images?
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're bringing up like such an important point, really, from two perspectives. One is I'd struggled with it myself as a teenager, and now I have two teenage daughters. So one is I'm a victim of these images myself, and I remember really growing up in Germany, and now when I think about it, of course, it sounds crazy, but I'm watching like commercials, very much advertising certain foods or beverages and movies. And on the other hand, I have two teenage daughters, and I'm trying not to get them into that thinking, into that mode there. So, yes, I think we are moving in the right direction. It's still, though, something that I think is very challenging, especially as we have stereotypes about certain things. So, for instance, I'm a fitness instructor, right? And I always have my door open at the beginning of class, and I want to give everybody a hug when they walk in. I don't really do it because people are like, who is she? So I basically just welcome them, and I introduce myself, ask them who they are, and I know how that is when you walk through that door, especially when you're maybe going into the rec center for the first time. So think about like awkward situations: buying jeans, buying a swimsuit, walking into a rec center. If you're not fitting a certain body image, or you may be struggling with your self-perception, those are horrific situations. So I can't help you buy jeans, I wish I could, or a swimsuit, but I can at least welcome you when you walk into a recreation center where I work, and I make you feel you're most appreciated, and you're starting your journey to wellness, and you are very much embraced for who you are, because it's amazing that you are there. And that's I know that must be difficult, because I get comments then after class where they say, I came because of you. And that was like, you told me in the spin class that you also teach this weightlifting class. So I'm here because of that. I was not as interested in weightlifting, but I felt safe in your class. And I think that we can all do a good job in making people feel safe and welcome and appreciated. Because there's only, if you read certain things or you look at things on social media, there's only, so much that you can filter social media. But at the same time, my recommendation is always, if you really struggle with that, you need to take the time, whether that's a day or that it takes a few hours, and get rid of anything that you were to look on social media that doesn't make you happy. If you feel you're jealous about somebody else, you should probably unfollow them, because that's not what you want to see. You want to open your social media feeds and just feel like it's oozing happiness. You want to look at the Pekingese dog from Claudia tomorrow, and that's oozing happiness. But you don't want to look at things where you feel this is something where they're promoting a certain body image. And also, let me tell you, because I'm a fitness instructor, I am a health coach, I never ever post before and after pictures of my clients. I hate that. Why? Like, okay, I could maybe post a picture of somebody like looking serious and then smiling. That would be actually really weird. But why show like the side profile of somebody? Maybe they toned their abs or their arms or something. This is so irrelevant, because the main thing goes on in your head. And it does not matter really whether the body changed or the scale shows a different number, because we don't know deep down. Are they happy? We don't know, and it could actually be the worst, that they felt they were depriving themselves the whole time just to make that picture look good. So I feel that especially in the health and wellness sector, we have such an important role in watching our own language, not saying, oh, this is like for your bikini body, or yeah, like let's try to get in shape, blah blah blah. It's January 1. That's all totally irrelevant. I just welcome people for showing up and for being there and who they are, and recognizing that that's something that is their me time.
I think You're 100% right on the before and after photos. Another trend that I have seen lately is and it's generally a lot of fitness people are posting like the picture they would post and then kind of the behind the scenes. So the one where it shows them with, the stomach sucked in and the abs all tight and no cellulite. And then they'll show the picture of them, literally 5 seconds later of like, this is what my stomach actually looks like. And see, I have bumps and cellulite and I have this, that, and the other. So by the look on your face, it seems like you haven't really experienced
Okay.
those. I'm gonna have to
Really?
send them to you. Because it's they are showing up all over my timeline now of
Oh.
people showing like this is what I show you that I look like, but this is what I actually look like. And it seems cool in theory, but then you're kind of just perpetuating the myth by
Mm.
saying, "Well, here's what I show you, even though this is what I really look like." So
I haven't
you're admitting that you're showing us a mask.
I haven't done this myself, and I'm thinking whether I would actually be interested in doing that. It seems like a lot of work to do the whole like
Agree.
shot, and I don't want to put so much work into this. So I guess if you see me on social media, I guess that's how I looked like on that
This
day.
is just you.
Yeah, it's just me. So um, yeah, I don't do the whole like stomach sucking thing, and yeah, that's just that. But at the same time, I appreciate people that might, show things like commercials or something that are maybe harmful and explain that.
Mhm.
And it's good because or even language, we sometimes don't notice that we say certain words and languages. I remember a few years ago at the rec center, some people said, oh, let's get ready for the whatever summer body or something, and some people didn't even think about that did not sound good, because your body is not really like a calendar where like there's
Right.
your winter body and there's your summer body, right? It's just your body, so there's no timeline associated with it. So I appreciate when people educate me and they show me certain things and say this is maybe something we should watch and we should look for. In general, I personally don't spend a ton of time on social media, because I think that it is it's probably better to look at your in real life friends and appreciate everything that they have to offer for who they are and how they look like on that day. So that's more than my happy place right there.
I love it. I'm gonna send you a couple of those just so you can see what I'm talking about, because I would love to hear your input. I wanna go back to you talking about you struggling with an eating disorder growing up, and I would love to hear kind of when you realized that it was a problem for you and how you were able to work through that.
Hmm. Yeah, so actually on my website, I recently decided to have a page now. It's called My Story. And I actually, because I'm from Germany and I live in California, I arrived with a suitcase, so I don't have a ton of stuff here, especially not pictures for myself. But I spent a lot of time when I put this page together on my website, thehellohappiness.com, and finding pictures. And I remember exactly what pictures I was looking for when I was really sick and very much in the space of oh, I'm feeling like I'm feeling so light because I lost even more weight and I fit into these clothing. But when I look now at the pictures, I look really sick. So because I don't really look healthy at all. We earlier talked before and after picture. So those are my before pictures. And then at the end, you can see my after picture. So that's the reason why I posted it. And I feel I needed to post the pictures to kind of share with others that was my story. And that's really an important part for who I am. I think that especially if you have any type of addiction, that it's very quick to go back into the addiction, which is another reason why I posted it. It's kind of like a reminder that that's what happened to me and I don't want that it happens again. So how did I get out of it? And that is at least like is something for my personal eating disorder addiction that helped me. I probably knew, well, I was very aware that I was sick all along. And the little tricks that I did to get out of eating something, whether it was hiding food or I was, uh, exercising. Actually, the exercising part came more when I came to the United States, and I more did it to gain a muscle and feel strong and healthy. Because when I was eating disorder, when I had my eating disorder, and it was mainly just not eating, I was definitely not strong. So I would say just starving yourself. That's really where I was. And I'm thinking now that the little tricks and all this, I was very aware that I had a problem, but I couldn't get out of it. So for me, what really helped is, so here I was in Germany, and if you research eating disorders or maybe other addictions, it's really that you're trying to gain control over something in your life. It was my way of controlling my life because I felt there were not a lot of parts that I had a say over. When I decided I'm going to leave Germany to study in the United States, and I packed my little suitcase and I moved to the little Apple, Kansas, Manhattan, Kansas. I moved there. I realized that for the first time, I really didn't actually know anybody. I had to start from scratch, and that's what helped me. Because I know the moment that I met a lot of other students, they didn't really know my past and they just took me for who I am. It was a total different environment. And I made very different choices when I was in Germany because I was out of that control loop, that mental vicious cycle. And I think that for me, it helped kind of pushing the reset button. And then I also met my husband, and I was very scared in telling him about it. But my philosophy is if you meet the right people, they accept you with your dents and scratches and whatever that is, because it's kind of like, I call it embracing your shit, right? I say that we all have that. Nobody has an easier life than others. It's basically just you have to learn to live with your little dents and scratches and ideally share them so that others that have the same situation can learn from it. So that's maybe what helps. You need to reset and you maybe change your environment, and then it helps also that there are people there that accept you, and then you become more open talking about it, and as you talk about it you learn that you have an issue and that you maybe need to seek help.
I think some people, and I'm speaking from personal experience, when you go through that, there are still triggers. So for me, I've recognized that I can't count anything. Like I can't count calories. I can't do like the little containers of food because that gets me going again of like, oh, well, this is 100 calories. That's not that bad. Oh, that's 100 calories. Do I really need that? What if I just save that 100 calories for later, knowing like it's never going to happen? So I recognize that that's kind of my trigger that I can still fall back into. Do you have anything that you have to look out for when it comes to your eating disorder that you still have to be mindful of and look out for so that it doesn't come back?
Yep, calorie counting for sure. And actually, we talked earlier about the reels that I post. So that's a popular reel that I post. Don't count calories because in reality, the recommendation that you should, for instance, eat 1,200 calories is quite crazy because we don't really think about what you do during the day, and your organs also need calories to just function. So it's a very stringent recommendation, and looking at the nutrition labels has completely now changed. I don't look at calories. I more look at fiber. I focus a lot on sugars because sugars tend to be hidden, especially with my children. For instance, when I buy tomato sauce, I don't want to be. I want to buy tomato sauce. I don't need one that has tons of sugar in it. But the calories would trigger things. It's sometimes to where when I eat and I'm feeling I'm kind of eating because it's a social thing, but then I'm like, oh, hold on, I'm not really hungry. And then I'm like, why did I just eat? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, you know? So that's there too. We eat at the table, we don't eat in front of the TV. Because I think that mindless eating is kind of like where you feel like you're stuffing yourself. My problem is also that I have digestive issues. So sometimes, and speaking of the pictures you talked about earlier, I get like super bloated because I'm like super stressed and I get bloated. So I have like this really full looking belly, but it's not full at all. It's just air. And then I'm feeling very self-conscious about it. And I feel like, oh, I can't eat anything because my belly's, looking so bloated. And I'm feeling really bad, to use that word. And that's maybe also another trigger. So I always need to make sure that I don't even get into the irritable bowel syndrome, feeling bloated loop, so that I can keep up my healthy thoughts, get out of that funk.
What are the things that you really wanted to make sure that you passed on to your daughters as they're now teenagers when it comes to body image and being healthy?
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually a good question because one of my daughters told me the other day that I said something that wasn't very good, and I'm glad she told me. We're not perfect. We're just kind of like uh sometimes things come out, and parenting is hard too. So like I guess I must have said something about her, and they're both super comfortable with their bodies, and I must have said something like, oh yeah, you better watch out what you're eating or something, and then afterwards she told me that might make me feel very, oh, you know what, yes, I said something about their fitness level, and I said, oh yeah, you should maybe like can move a little bit more, exercise a little bit more, so you're sitting a lot in school and you come home you sit a lot too, and that made them very self-conscious. So it's good that they're telling me that because we don't notice it, and at the same time, I don't want that they start thinking that way, that they need to do things that are uncomfortable to them. I think what I'm really emphasizing is, so when we purchase clothing, we don't look necessarily at the sizing, and I actually also really embrace the style right now. I just ordered t-shirts for some event they're going to be at, and I said, what size do you need? Instead of saying, oh, I need like the extra extra small, they were like, get me an adult medium. So they like baggy, oversized clothing, and also the jeans right now too. They are kind of like loose fitting, baggy clothing. And they wear this because they feel comfortable in it. They don't wear it to hide their body in it. I know that. So that's to them more a fashion statement, and they don't like clingy clothing because they embrace who they are. So I think that both of them are very aware that no, we can't have sweets all day long. But I also emphasize, oh, it's your dental health or maybe your skin health. I don't say this is just because you could gain weight. There are other consequences of eating unhealthy than just gaining weight. And I'm feeling that I hope we are past the point where they could flip into eating disorders. We're navigating through it, but we're learning also every day. It's definitely I learn about myself when I teach and when I raise my children.
Do you think there's more to be done when it comes to the images that we look at that we talked about earlier, that, they are changing body shapes and sizes when it comes to advertising, with Victoria's Secret and other companies? Do we have more to do there, in your opinion?
Yes, and you're bringing up a really good point because just this week I talked with a student. I'm working with her on a really big data analysis of a study with my students in the classroom. So, right during the pandemic, I started doing mindfulness exercises, and we talked about this at the very beginning of the podcast. I gave them a little like a little potpourri of things that they could do for self-care, and I let them choose things. And then they had to journal, or it was like an electronic diary, and share with me what worked well for them. So now we are analyzing the data of this, and we are basically aiming at making students more resilient and building their grit so that they, when they are stressed, fall back to whatever me time helps them instead of getting stressed out and feeling like building up tension. So I talked with her about it, and she said, "Oh yeah, let's find some good websites for fitness and for workouts." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to show you some that I think are pretty bad, right?" And so I pulled up some workout video websites where all what you see when you scroll through it are the ladies with the bras and the abs, and the guys like muscles. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, what is it?" And I said, "Those are actually companies. They're still in full existence, and all what they advertise on their websites are these perfectly shaped bodies." And it's quite sad because they've been around forever, but sometimes that's just what you expect now when you look at the company. So they can't just like backtrack and say, "Oh, you know what, here we are, we're not advertising this body image anymore," because they have been doing it forever. Or if you think, for instance, Weight Watchers, are they still called Weight Watchers? Probably, but they can't just name themselves differently because they have been Weight Watchers forever. But at the same time, we don't want to watch the weight. Well, not like constantly, at least. So I think there's a lot to do, especially when it comes down to the fitness scenario, because deep down, we all know what we need to do, but there's a lot of false information out there that just needs to be mitigated and filtered. And I wish there would be more, common sense that could be used. No, there's no diet pill that makes you lose 10 pounds in a week, but yet it sounds oh so amazing if you want to lose 10 pounds. But I know that, so I talked with my student about it, and she couldn't believe it. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is even in existence." And so she talked about some of these things as like a form of resilience, because resilience is also there to understand that that's bullshit what you're looking at. The website is not how you're going to look like when you do that program. And that's something I'm also trying to teach, of course. It's not just resilience against stress, but also resilience against factors that might shape how you perceive the world.
As a side note, I think Weight Watchers is now just WW,
Ooh.
but I can't swear to that. I know that on their app, because I used to have it on my phone, they did change it to WW. So I don't know if that's what they go by full time now, or I don't know. But
Viewers can research.
yes, so we'll look into that. Well, Christiana, I want to take a little turn before I let you go, and we're going to talk about a subject near and dear to my heart. Sometimes it is self-care for me. That is tattoos.
Mhm.
And if people know me, they know that even though I have a lot of tattoos, there are a few types of tattoos that I'm very judgy about. I'm very judgy about neck tattoos and face tattoos.
Mm.
However, you have been sitting with us for a long time and you have quite a different type of face tattoo that is
Mhm.
actually amazing, and you're really making me want to do it. I would love if you would talk a little bit about microblading and what you think of it, and are you going to continue to do it?
Mm. Microblading is a type of cosmetic tattoo, and it basically enhances your eyebrow. So if you are a person that has to draw with an eyebrow pencil the shape of your eyebrows, or you have to fill in like little hairs, or even, oh my gosh, like use a product that makes hair grow. Microblading is essentially creating the illusion that the hair is there, and it keeps the hair darken at all times. So it's kind of a double whammy. So if I were to look really, really up close, and I can come a little bit closer here to the camera, it's essentially your skin is colored and it makes the hair appear darker. But the difference from microblading to tattooing is that she matches the color of the ink to my hair color, or what she feels with make me look good, instead of tattooing, which typically uses a certain set of colors. The ink is usually a certain set of colors, while the microblading is more, as it says, a cosmetic tattoo. And I've seen people also that had, I think, microbladed their lips, so they always
Mm-hmm.
look like they have lipstick on. I've not done that yet, but I've seen that too. So yes, I'm for sure going to do that again. I actually have an appointment here in October. I usually get it just what's called touch up, like once per year. And the reason for that being is that when I look at pictures of myself now, it really did change the shape of my face. But I'm also, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm a person that has a lot of facial expressions, and I'm feeling the eyebrows are helping me getting those facial expressions out. And at the same time, I always in the morning, I spend a lot of time like drawing my eyebrows and getting them like, and then sometimes I would pluck them and I would over pluck them. And I would be like, oh my gosh, I have to wait a whole month for this hair to grow back. So the microblading helps because it's a shape that has been created, and I only plug the eye basically on the lid. I don't need to mess around with the shape anymore. The shape is there, the color is there, and it's easy, especially if you're spending time doing something else in your face. So I focus on my mascara, then you don't have to worry about the microblading anymore. So yes, I will do it again. I thought about it for quite a while before, and I researched some YouTube videos and I watched them, and thought, I mean, I guess I could always try, and then it goes again away, which is also a difference to tattooing because it just fades and then it goes away. Yeah, but I really like the outcome, and which is why now I'm on the microblading train. I would never get off. Right, I'm on it.
I love it. Is it painful?
Yeah, a lot of people ask. I just talked to a student about this because we talked about our favorite cosmetic products, and she asked me what I use on my eyebrows, and I was like, "Well, actually, nothing. Right? That's just how they look like now." There is a numbing process, so it's numb. So she basically has a numbing cream, and then she wraps like a kind of like those cellophane wrap things. She wraps that around, which looks really adorable. It's like you're wearing like a see-through headband, and then she numbs it again multiple times. So if she feels like sometimes I lose like a little tear or something like that, if she feels that it's getting really painful, she will just numb it again, and she waits a little while. But is it something to where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the most relaxing activity on the earth? Not necessarily, but we have a great conversation, have a great relationship with her, so that helps. And she's a beautiful studio, and it smells good. So I mean, you just focus on the outcome and everything else, and that's it's something I look forward to in that case, because I know that I'm really excited about the after, so to speak. Yeah.
And about how long does it take? So if you go in for the first time and so they got to do the whole shebang, what kind of
Yep.
time are we looking at here?
The first time took quite a while. The main reason and that's probably with my lady, she really tried to match the color. So she mixes the color right
Mm,
there and then. And it's kind of like as if you were to get highlights, right? So
mhm.
or maybe you're getting your hair color changed. You don't want that they walk in, you're like, oh, okay, you're like a number 15, right? So you want that they really match it. And we're all just so different that she took a lot of time creating a shape and finding a color shade. But now that I've been there, she knows what color shade I'm in. I'm assuming she writes this down somewhere, and then she just goes back to it. So it's not as much work, and the shape is already there. And it's now, as I say, it's just touch up. It's kind of like let me think about it. Good, like maybe with the highlights, right? So you always, if you keep your highlights, you just
Mhm.
touch up the roots, but you don't have to do the whole shebang anymore because the rest of the hair is probably still highlighted. It's just like that. And then of course, she she maybe also knows how much I need to be numbed, because it's also maybe at the beginning, it's kind of like, where are we going with this? How long does it take until she doesn't feel it anymore? When can I get started with her? So the first time it took quite a while. I want to say 2 hours, maybe even longer. What you need to be also aware of, the aftercare, it's super important. You need to be careful not spending a lot of time in the sun, not going into hot tubs, and not taking showers or rubbing. It will be kind of a crust.
Mm-hmm.
You also can't pick at it. A scab, basically. There's a lot of things that you need to think about when you schedule it. So I try to usually schedule it in the fall in California, because I know that that's a good time and it's not as sunny anymore. And then the after treatment is maybe just like an hour or something like that, and it's good. I would say, if you, hey, audience, if anybody has questions, reach out to me, because I would be happy to help you and make that decision for you. Well, help you make the decision for you,
I love this. This has been so informative for me. So I appreciate that.
Go for it.
I'm very tempted. Where can people find you? So if they want to talk to you about how they can be happier and healthier, or maybe a hustler, if they want to talk to you about microblading and find out where to go in California and get it, if they want to listen to your podcast, where can they find you?
So the main social media that I use is actually Instagram. And by all means, do not look for the videos with the before and after, or the cellulite videos. My videos, I post every day. So I post like very interactive, and this is just me video, like basically get a slice of my life video. And it's hello.happy.nest. So I break up my Hello Happy Nest into these 3 words. And then I have a website, and in that case, it's hellohappiness.com. The emphasis really on the T, which is the comfort level. We're all trying to feel like we're in a nest, hellohappiness.com. My podcast is called Happy Healthy Hustle. And I frequently, just actually today, I'm going to release a new episode, but I frequently also send out little tidbits and freebies in my email newsletter. So you can sign up for the email newsletter. In my Instagram, I have a very famous reel that talks about a chocolate chip cookie recipe. Now you can really tell the health coach I am, right? It's actually my most famous reel. It got combined over 1 million views.
Wow.
So I like that I'm that type of health coach. So there's a recipe. And if you want to get the recipe, click on my highlights in my story, and that will also sign you up for my newsletter if you want to get the recipe. So I send out a newsletter with my new favorite recipes. I usually put some freebie alerts in there of things that I've seen that are free or maybe reduced price, and I advertise the latest podcast episode there. So I would encourage you go to my website or go to my Instagram to sign up for the newsletter, because it's a happy, healthy hustle, so to speak.
I am all in for the cookies, for the freebies, for the newsletter. I'm here for it
Awesome.
all. Christiane, you have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to share some of your own personal story and giving out some amazing tips and thoughts and ideas that are going to be so helpful to so many people out there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love it. Yes, thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media so you'll never miss what's going on. Remember, until next week, you are strong enough, you are worth it. Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. And on YouTube, we're on the Spear Talk channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.